We are live. Hello, Internet. This is a game in Gauntlet, in the Gauntlet, and it's specifically GauntletCon 2018. Woo! We're all excited. Right, guys? Woo! 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 All right, cool. So GauntletCon is about to start, but it hasn't really started quite yet, not officially in any official capacity. There's a lot of buzz in the chat room, and we have games, Gauntlet Games Now, headed by Yoshi, is starting a little bit later today, and then tomorrow, Friday, all the games start going. But this is a little bit early, and some of us can't make some of those times. And so we're going to play a little game that's kind of, off the books, but also it's an open table. I've already invited whoever can come in. We will see what happens. So the game we will be playing today is For the Queen, a game by Alex Roberts. She's written it fairly recently. It's not quite in release mode yet, but if you are watching this video on the YouTubes afterwards, there is a little link down below with either information on where to get it now, or more likely in the near future, it'll be a link where you can sign up for more information. I think it's going to be put out maybe by Evil Hat. She's talking with Sean Nittner about all that kind of stuff. So anyways, we're playing it in a slightly different mode than it normally is played. So anybody who has played it before, I know a few people here have, it's usually a game played for 3 to 5 people in kind of like a nice small table, just like you would a regular RPG. However, this weekend I was at Big Bad Con with some of my excellent friends, many of which are are from the Gauntlet, including Ryan, who's here with us today. And we were in the lobby, and suddenly my friend Kurt said, "Wouldn't that be funny if we played for the Queen, and the Queen was a queen bee?" And I was thinking, that would be funny. And I'm surrounded by dozens of people like in this lobby. So we took about a dozen people and we just played this game as almost like a party game. We were all bees and we were there to protect the queen bee. And it was a pretty interesting, different take on the game, and it worked really well. So we're going to do basically exactly that, except with a slightly different theme. We also did it with I'm loving the chat. We also did a version which was for the Dancing Queen, because we had just gotten off a dance floor that Big Bad Con happens to host a little bit. And so that was also a great game. That one had like 15 or more people in it. So it got even bigger and handled it pretty well. All right, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to get going, and we will just take turns reading these cards aloud. We have a turn order that's already established and in the chat. Occasionally, I will kind of like retype it in case people need to have an updated copy. And if people join us in the middle of the game, we'll just add them to our little cloud of bees and go from there. So let's get going. Go around the table clockwise, taking turns reading these cards aloud.
The land you live in has been at war for as long as any of you have been alive.
The Queen has decided to undertake a long and perilous journey to broker an alliance with a distant power.
The Queen has chosen all of you and no one else to be her retinue and to accompany her on this journey.
She chose you because she knows that you love her.
You are a space bee.
That was excellent. And so the game actually is sometimes played without any card here. You can just play the game and the queen will be established in play. Apparently in the final version of the game, which I haven't seen yet, but I have seen some of the artwork, there will be queen cards where it doesn't really tell you much about the queen, but it has different images that give you a flavor for who this queen might be. But today, we are space bees.
Set the card that reads, "The Queen is under attack," aside.
That is something I have already done. Shuffle the question cards and place them face down in the center of the table. This is our table.
Put the Queen is Under Attack card in the middle of the deck for a game that takes approximately 30 minutes, or shuffle it into the bottom third of the deck to play for an hour or more. And those are really short estimates.
Those are bald-faced lies. The game always takes a lot longer than that, in my opinion, but maybe because we're just playing with story gamers. And what do we love to do? Listen to our own self-indulgent bullshit. That's what Lauren would tell me. So yes, I find it takes a lot longer. We didn't really shuffle it exactly in this deck. What we will see is when we get to a certain point, that card will come up. So we'll see that in play.
Continuing clockwise, take turns answering the questions on the question mark cards. Interpret these cards and answer them however you wish.
Other players may ask you questions or make suggestions on your turn, but whether you answer those questions or include those suggestions is entirely up to you.
Place the X card somewhere everyone can easily reach it.
Of course, that's for the physical version of this game, which is also, there's an X on one of these cards, which is great. But obviously in our version, we'll do the X card in the chat. You can interrupt and say it verbally. You can type it in the chat window, whatever is appropriate. If anybody does see it in the chat window, like somebody's put it there and maybe they can't vocalize it at that point in time, please let us know. You know, feel free, like if it doesn't look like whoever's talking is paying attention or sees it, you know, just let us know.
If you encounter a card or an answer that you don't want to be included in the game, tap the X card. That content is removed from the game.
If you draw a card that is removed this way, simply draw another card. You can X a card that you drew yourself.
That's me. You can also pass on your turn. To do so, give the question card you drew to the next player and say, I'd like to hear you answer this question.
A question card can be passed around the table until someone applies the X card to it.
Continue answering, passing, and Xing questions until the Queen is Under Attack card is drawn.
Each player should answer that question in turn, then the game is over.
Whoever wants to can draw the first card.
That'll be me. I'll draw the first card. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we should just continue in our order here. What do you think, guys? Yes.
I'm fine either way.
Awesome. All right. So that means our first question is going to be Stephen. Of course, you're fine. You're like, yes, I get to do the first one. All right. So here we go.
You suspect this journey isn't just about diplomatic negotiations. What else do you believe is going on and why? I mean, I think the Queen is fleeing palace intrigue. I think her sister is up to something.
Now, at any time, any of us can ask any clarifying questions. So, for example, do you know the Queen's sister very well?
Oh, yes. I mean, the Queen and her sister hatched together, which is kind of unusual. There's usually only one queen born at a time, but the queen is older, so she rules the hive.
Interesting. Were you present at the birth?
No, I'm one of the Queen's children. All of us on this trip are. Except, of course, for the Queen herself.
I mean, I guess that could have been possible with Space Bees, but yeah. If there is a long silence after a question is done, after somebody's finished answering, I will just move on to the next question. But if you didn't get a chance to ask a question and you wanted to, feel free to just dive in audioly and go, hey, oh, sorry, can I ask a question? And we can just jump back and finish this thing.
The Queen had you punished once. What about the memory of that will stay with you forever? I think my punishment was a temporary what's the word? Separation from the hive. I think that we sort of have this familial hive, maybe not full hive mind, but there's a connection that we all share that helps us to, work together and cooperate and work towards a common goal. But I think that the queen has the power to sever that tie. So even though I was still with my fellow space bees physically, in spirit I was separated, and that feeling of isolation and ennui was crushing, and I was oh so happy to come back and join them. And I think the moment that I will always remember is being on a mass transportation vehicle, and just being in a seat and looking around me and seeing all of these, my brothers and sisters and other siblings, and just feeling like I didn't know any of them. And it was a very melancholy moment.
Can I ask why you were punished? What you were punished for?
Indeed. Wow. Yeah. Ooh. Anybody have ideas? I'm coming up blank. What might a space bee do wrong? I'm thinking it has to do something with independent thought, right?
Maybe you had something to do with the queen's sister.
There is that little bit of intrigue as well. Yeah, I think that what I didn't necessarily intend to be harmful, but I think that the queen's sister asked me a favor of me, and I did it without thinking. I just followed her instruction, and it ended up having consequences with ripples that I did not anticipate. And this was sort of a message of like, I'm the queen, you listen to me, sort of thing. So following instructions of one that is not the queen, that was my error in judgment. Or crime, if we're putting a fine point on it.
When was the last time the queen showed you real kindness? I mean, look, I'm a blob. I mean, I know you guys are all bees and stuff, and that's great, right? And you guys call me a bee, and that's very comforting that you guys consider me one of your bee friends. But really, my job is to kind of like get the nectar out of those really weird flowers that you guys have grown. And I don't know why or how you guys have survived, all of these generations and have evolved into space flight and all that kind of stuff. And of course, taken over my planet and enslaved me. Like, that's pretty impressive considering that, you guys can't even like feed yourselves. Like, you need other creatures to help you do that. But, that's my job. And I do it regularly. And the last time the queen showed me real kindness was like an hour ago, because I fed her again. And she loves to eat. As you know, she is fairly large and extremely scary. But the nice thing is that when she is fed, she rewards me with a little bit of these beautiful pheromones, which I just can't get enough of. So, being kind of a subjugated species here, it's not so bad. I mean, I do miss my home and I miss my family, but what can you do?
Have you ever acted out because you didn't get your pheromones?
I don't quite remember. I've been told maybe, but once I get past a certain level, I kind of forget and I get a little bit agitated. So that's possible. I mean, that could be where some of these strange scars came from. I don't know.
Are you part of our hive vibe, that the one that Michael described?
Not exactly. Well, I don't know. You tell me. Like, the queen has a pretty wide selection of pheromones, And so although I don't really know what you're talking about as far as this like mind thing, you know, I mean, sometimes she says, hey, go do this thing. And I'm like, ain't no way I'm going to do that thing. And suddenly I get a whiff and there I go. So maybe the hive is a much more complicated thing than just a bunch of bees. I don't know. I haven't seen too many other things in there, but she keeps me a little bit segregated from some of the rest of the hive. I mean, you guys would try to possibly kill me if I got too far from the queen. So that does keep me pretty well relegated in my space.
What's something that physically distinguishes you from space bees?
Probably my shape. It is the shape of a blob. My skin is fairly leathery. I have two little like nerve bundles for eyes. I can change my form very slowly. It won't let me, hasn't been able to help me get it out of here. That's for sure. I've tried a couple times. But then again, now I'm like so addicted by some of these pheromones. I don't know if I could survive outside of here anymore. But you know, I got a couple of cool belts that I wear around my body, and I use like some of the cool striping because, you know, it makes me just feel a little bit more like I belong. But otherwise, I don't really look like a space bee.
What do you usually do for the royal family? Why does that make you an unlikely choice for this journey? So, I have an incredibly vital job for the royal family. It's just not very glamorous. I'm basically on trash duty. I mean, the queen bee can't move as easily as a lot of the other bees, and I'm responsible for keeping her area tidy and clearing away things that aren't needed anymore. And yeah, basically, I'm the garbage man of the hive, which doesn't make a lot of sense in the journey because, you know, we're constantly moving. We don't need to worry about that so much. So I'm not entirely sure why she brought me along, but I suppose you need to have someone that's going to do the dirty work.
Are there many other trash men bees that normally work for the queen, or are you kind of like one of the main ones?
Why would you need multiple trash bees?
Stupid question. Sorry.
I mean, you're a blob. I get it. You just don't know how hives work.
So, what's something that's odd that you keep having to throw away?
So I'm not sure when they started appearing, but I've been noticing more and more that there's these kind of thin, almost like foil wrappers, sometimes with bits of words on them, with kind of like a sweet layer on the inside. I think they might be candy bar wrappers, but I'm not sure where she's getting them or why.
Sorry, go ahead.
What did you refuse to do that the queen's bee sister asked you to do on this journey?
The queen bee's sister asked me to fetch her some royal jelly and other important sustenance, which, I mean, if the queen asked me to, even though that's not in my normal description, of course I would, but I don't answer to the queen bee's sister. I serve only the queen.
Can I ask, the queen bee's sister has remained behind in the hive, right? That's what we're fleeing. How is her life going to be an absolute misery without your vital skills?
So, I mean, far be it from me to speak ill of the royal family, but she is such a slob. I mean, she's just disgusting. And the only reason that she manages not to live in a pile of her own filth is because I have to tidy the area around her and the queen bee, because it would displease the queen bee to have that just giant trash heap in the hive. And without me around, she's going to have to clean her own room.
How do I prevent you from throwing me away?
I mean, like, you could try wearing a sign that says, art installation, not trash or something. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. You kind of look like garbage, dude.
Fair.
The queen is not your queen. Why do you serve her anyway? Huh. So I guess if she's not my queen, then I'm probably not. Either I'm not a bee or I'm a queen myself. I think I'm a queen myself. A younger one that has been born later. She's not really my queen, but she's better than her sister. And we're at war. So, and I like fighting. So I serve her because she keeps me fighting.
And is it usual for queens to fight?
No, it's not. It's not usually. Queens have to lay eggs and stay behind in the hive. And that's why it's unusual for me to go out and fight for myself. But I'm pretty big.
Who was the last person that you needed to kill in order to protect our queen?
Oh, that's nice. That was, I think it was an assassin. It was actually a blob assassin, because they can be pretty nasty. These blobs, they can inhale stuff and then keep it within them. And then when they burst or when they breathe it out, that's kind of some kind of poison gas or something. And I had to throw that blob out of the air vent, like into space, where it exploded, and we had a little sparkling poison gas. Yeah.
What do you do for the queen that anyone else can do, and why does she make you do it? The queen likes to have the freshest water, and she sends me on these incredibly dangerous journeys to nearby or faraway comets to pick up some ice and to bring it back. And this is, I think, usually essentially a something that gets given to those low caste male drones who are good for nothing else. But I think she thinks that I come back with the freshest ice cubes.
Do you feel proud of that?
No, I think I don't think that I do anything strange, or I don't think I have any particular talent for it. In fact, I want to do anything else with my bee life than do that.
Is it possible that the queen is afraid of being poisoned by her sister, and that's why she's insisting you get water from outside the hive?
That would make a lot of sense, but I don't think of it that way.
What role do you personally aspire to?
Oh, I think I could. I think if we were to set up a new hive somewhere, I would be the perfect bee to go off and explore new asteroids. But really, I think I just like having some alone time.
What's the most dangerous part about your job?
Well, I guess you have to, if you lead the comet by quite a considerable distance, because they travel pretty pretty quick. So the first time I went out, I misjudged it, and I had to race behind the comet for, however long, with all of these icy shards coming at me. That's dangerous. That's how I lost this wing. One of my left pair is no longer a pair; it's just a single. So that's pretty dangerous.
Are you going to derail the peace talks?
Why would you think such a thing?
What do you do that pleases the queen on this journey? I'm sort of her entertainment. I am a storyteller, but I am also, in a way, a messenger of the news of the hive for stuff that she cannot feel herself within her mind. I make sure she knows about.
What does bee entertainment look like?
Bees love stories about other space insects. Bees are just absolutely enthralled when you talk about a space mantis, even though they are like the scariest thing a space bee could come across. Big horror fans.
Do you make extensive use of puppetry in your work?
If you want to call it puppetry, but it's pretty easy for the queen to make her own puppets with her pheromones. So she can enact whole scenes with groups of space bees, pretty much without their permission, but they enjoy it anyways.
Have you ever seen a space mantis, like for real?
Oh, I hope not. I hope I never see one.
Have you ever lied to the queen with one of your stories?
Yes. I lied to her about another sister that she does not know she has.
Are you saying that you told her she has a sister she doesn't have, or that you told her she does not have a sister, but there really is one out there?
I've never brought it up. So, although not truly a lie, it is still a secret.
Is there anyone else on this mission who knows about this other sister and could give away the secret?
Yeah, but I wouldn't worry too much about them because they're just a blob that's addicted to the queen's pheromones. So, I'm sure they wouldn't ever do anything to mess up not getting the pheromones anymore. So I'm pretty sure they're okay being quiet.
All right. So have you read my story yet? I mean, I submitted it a while ago, and I really think that the queen would enjoy a blob story for once. I think this one would really resonate with her.
The reason it was rejected was because it's not scary enough and probably should include space mantises.
Why don't you tell the stories I tell you about my scary fights with space insects because they aren't mantises or something, right?
Mostly it has to do with mantises. I don't think bees really enjoy stories about bees killing other space bees.
What moral of the tale did you include in one of your stories that shocked the queen and her court to their very core?
Oh, that even though we all work together, everyone is truly unique.
Why are some others at the royal court jealous of your relationship with the queen? Well, my job is to clean up the queen's excess wax secretions. It's sort of like trash duty, but I mean this is not actually trash. It's excess secretions. So it's sort of related but different. And yeah, I mean everybody wants to eat the queen's secretions, but I'm the one who gets to do it.
Is that a particularly intimate exercise?
Oh, of course, because I have constant access to the queen's private chambers, and I mean I hear everything that goes on around her. So
Do you think you're better than me because you get to eat the queen's wax and I just tidy up her trash?
I mean I wouldn't say that I'm better than you. I've got a better job, and I probably am better because the queen wouldn't the queen picked me for this job. She must have had a reason, but I mean I wouldn't say that I'm better. The queen might say that, but I would not presume.
Do you like your job, or do you secretly hate it?
I mean, I like it most of the time, but the last couple of months, there's something that the queen has been eating, and it's changed the flavor of her secretions, and I've been getting these horrible cramps. And I've noticed there are a lot of these foil wrappers in her quarters. That happened about the same time that the taste of her secretions changed. It could just be a coincidence.
I've heard there was a black market for queen's wax. Would you know anything about that?
Oh, well, I mean, it's not so much a black market. I mean, the queen has never actually said that I can't pass on her secretions. So, I mean, occasionally I'll give one of the other bees a little bit of secretions in exchange for a favor, but there's no need. The queen doesn't need to know about that. Let's put it that way.
Can you give us an example of some juicy gossip that you have heard while in the Queen's chambers?
I could, but that would be completely unethical.
How does it make you feel when you're eating her secreted wax and you always find me just staring?
Well, it's, I mean, it's really kind of perverted. I feel like, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's some kind of a sex thing with you. I don't know how blob sex works, but I think it must have something to do with secretions, because the way you look at me is just, it's creepy. It is.
The Queen knows something about you that no one else does. What is it? Oh. So, I believe that her sister has not produced any children that the hive knows about. But I am one of her sister's brood that she has adopted into her hive. Nobody else knows about that, though.
Do you know it?
Yes. I think that I do. And I think that that information was sort of given to me after my, uh, momentary lapse of judgment. Right.
Why did the queen bring you on this journey?
Well, I think that I still have an innate connection with her sister that other bees lack. So I can sort of help her keep an eye on her sister's thoughts.
Are you really just a hostage, though?
Well, it's really such an honor and pleasure to be with you all and to be on this trip. Uh, the punishment for leaving would be great and terrifying, that's for sure. And it's not very pleasant to tap into my mother's thoughts and to share them with the queen. I suppose if I had a choice in the matter, I might think differently, but I try not to spend a lot of time thinking about choices. You know, those are tricky.
The queen thinks more highly of you than you do of yourself. How do you know this? So this is one part of the game is being able to pass question. And the way you do that is you look at the next person down the list, and I will say, Kyle, in this case, or I could just say the words, I would like to see you answer this question. And you pass it to the next player. That player may pass it to the next player. That player may say, I'd like to X this question, and then they can draw a new question. If I wanted to, I could have X'd this question and drawn a new question for myself. So you do not need to X a question simply because you are uncomfortable. You can X a question for any reason, like this doesn't fit my character or whatever. But in this case, I will say, I'd like to see you answer that question.
All right. Well, I will pass to Ryan. I don't quite understand the premise yet, so I'm gonna soak more in.
So we're still on the queen thinks more highly of you than you do of yourself? Okay, cool. The queen thinks more highly of you than you do of yourself. How do you know this? And I mean, I'm no one, really. I'm just the trash bee. I just don't interact with the hive a whole bunch. I'm not even always part of the proper hive mind, although I can kind of feel it buzzing at the back of my bee brain. But I just kind of do my job day in, day out. Make little wastebasket things. Oh, yeah, the space blob doesn't even count. I'm not including the space blob in this because, I mean, I tried to throw out the space blob accidentally on like 3 different occasions. The space blob gives me a wide berth now and wears a sign. Yes, I appreciate that you've labeled yourself, so I know you're not trash. But anyway, getting back to this. I just do my job, make my own little papery waste baskets, put all of her candy wrappers in there, take them to the edge of the hive, throw them out into the depths of space and stuff. But she actually thanks me regularly when I tidy up her space, and the queen doesn't need to thank anyone. Our service is expected, and anything less would be shocking. But I think she even knows my name now, which is really more than I've ever deserved.
Is it unusual to have a name, or do we all have them?
It might be unusual. I don't know, because I've never attempted to address another bee by their name. I'm not sure if they even have them.
So how did you...
Oh, sorry. Have you ever addressed me by my name?
Do you have a name? Is that a blob thing?
Know my name?
Oh, man. Art installation. Yeah, that's your name now, I guess.
Yeah. How did you get your name? Who gave it to you?
I decline to answer that question. It's excessively intimate. You don't get to know my name. Who do you think you are?
Well, I'm just the secretion eater, but fine, fine. I didn't want to know your name anyway.
And I didn't want to know yours. It's not like we're friends or anything.
Well, we certainly aren't friends, no. Yes.
Do you display your name anywhere?
I think if you were interested and wanted to spend enough time like around me and stuff, the patterns of stripes upon me indicates what my name is. But it would be kind of weird to stop and just stare at someone else trying to decipher what their name is. And clearly the queen must have spent more time looking at me than I thought she did.
It's me right now, right? Okay. When did you know you would never forgive the queen, and why? Well, I think it was actually when she thanked her garbage bee, and I had come home from a very hard mission, and my troops had died for her, and we had fought a long campaign, and she says, yeah, you're back, you won, fine, what's the next move? And then she thanks the trash bee, right? There are troops that died for her, and I don't think I will forgive her for that.
I mean, do you think she's just making a point of thanking the trash bee in order to stick it to you?
I don't know. I don't care. She shouldn't have done it.
What did you bring me back from that particular campaign?
I brought back a spaceship prototype from our enemies that that prototype would have destroyed us. They can build more of them. I'm pretty sure of that.
Hey, you gave a prototype that could destroy us all to a blob?
I gave it. No, I thought I brought it back to the queen. I'm sorry. I misunderstood
okay.
that question.
Oh, do you know that the queen never got the prototype and that I have been hiding it in my chamber? I mean, right here, like in my chamber.
Yes, I think I know that.
What have you been plotting ever since that moment?
I don't have a very clear plan, but it involves the prototype and the blob and the queen, not the queen's sister, but I think there might somebody on board who is a spy for the queen's sister or has a line to her. And I think I will have to find them first before I do something with the prototype.
How long do you think it'll be before the Space Manaces come for that prototype?
Oh yeah. I hope they will come for the prototype when we are at the peace conference, because then they can destroy our enemies and I can destroy the queen and nobody will be the wiser.
You saved the queen's life once. How? I think in one of the early wars that we prosecuted against the space ants, we fought a war against their hordes of flying drones who wanted to, infest our lovely hive. Several of them found their way into the queen's chamber, and I I heated up those ice cubes that I had just delivered to the queen and drowned those space ants. I shoved them into their breathing holes on their thorax and drowned them right there. Of course, that meant I had to, make another trip to get fresh ice, which, was kind of unfortunate. And I didn't think that went through. But, hey, I guess I saved her life. That was a good thing, right?
So how were you rewarded, or were you rewarded for saving her life?
No, I got sent out straight away to get some more ice, right? That's how it works. That's my lot in life, I guess, until I become the explorer extraordinaire that which is the job I truly deserve.
When you found out the trash bee got a name, even though you had saved the queen's life, do you feel now that perhaps you could have been rewarded more handsomely?
Oh, I mean, I have a name. It's Hey You, right? That's my name, right? I think names are things, legendary space mantises get, right? I don't think the trash bee really has a name. I mean, that's idle gossip, and I resist gossiping against my fellow bees.
Am I included in that fellow bees comment?
Oh yeah, I think you're going to grow up to be a real bee. You're a blob. I was a blob once, right? We were all blobs once. Yeah, they're just like larvae, right? I think. I mean, I don't really remember much.
I mean, I've never seen a larvae that looked anything like that blob.
Hey, don't judge him. He's like, a slow developer. That's fine. He's really important. If it wasn't for him, the queen wouldn't get, her special food. I don't think you're thinking like a real bee should. If there's anyone here who should be ashamed of themselves, it's you, not the blob.
I mean, I didn't say that he should be ashamed of himself.
I will come up with a clarifying point of game mechanics. When it's not your turn, you may speak up to ask a clarifying question. So feel free. But I don't know if you're really allowed to defend yourself until it comes back to your turn.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yes.
I mean, we can argue about subtext, but I know what you were really saying.
Sure, you do.
I mean, we have a hive mind, right? So that's how it works.
All right. Am I up? There is a false rumor about you and the queen back at the royal court. What is it, and how did it start? I believe this false rumor is that the queen and I are making up this whole war as a phantom war, just to keep the hive in line. And I don't know how it started.
Were you relieved when that rumor sort of supplanted and displaced the one that you're secretly a space mantis?
That rumor is just ridiculous. I don't know how these things start, but you got millions in this hive, and once things start gaining traction.
Do you think that rumor started because you're always wearing this robe over your body?
That's a possibility, but I do as the queen asks. The queen wants me to wear a robe, I wear a robe.
Does the queen know about the rumor, and does she encourage it or try to stop it?
She knows about the rumor, and we actually talked about this a little bit. The fact that trying to suppress it would probably make it seem like it was true.
Wait, the rumor about you being a mantis, or the rumor about you having started this talk about a war?
Both.
Why do you think the queen trusts you enough to bring you on this journey? I think it's because I have been eating her secretions for a long time now, and I have never disclosed any of the things that I've heard in her chamber. I haven't started any rumors that have gotten back to her, so she trusts me. She knows that I'm discreet.
I'm sorry, to clarify, you haven't started any rumors that have gotten back to her, or you haven't started any rumors, period?
I haven't started any rumors that have gotten back to her. I mean, I may have said something about the space blob's connection to the blob's connection to the space mantises, but that wasn't actually based on anything the queen had said, and I don't think the queen has heard about it. So,
why were you telling me directly to my face about that rumor?
the all I'm saying is that you're very odd looking for a bee larvae, but for a space mantis larvae. I mean, has anybody ever seen a space mantis larvae? I'm just saying it's possible.
So, how do you manage to keep rumors from getting back to the queen when we all share a semblance of a hive mind?
Well, just because we're all part of the same hive mind doesn't mean we're paying attention to everything we think. So, like, if the queen is busy with something else that's got all of her attention, and I happen to mention something about the blob and space mantises. I mean, unless she's actually paying attention, she's not going to notice. And unless anybody is actually thinking, "Oh, I wonder why the secretion bee was talking about the blob and space mantises." I mean, the queen can't know everything that every bee is thinking. That's just too much information.
Is it true that you are perfectly harmless to the queen? Or is there some way that you could actually cause her enough harm that she would want to distrust you?
Well, the secretion eater, that's a very sensitive job. I mean, if I wanted to do the queen harm, there are any number of ways that a bee with full access to her chambers could cause her injury or harm. But I mean, I am very loyal to the queen. I would never do anything to injure her.
But you could.
I could.
Okay. You sometimes think you might be the queen's favorite. Why? And why does this worry you? Well, I think I might be the queen's favorite weapon against her sister. And I'm worried that that means that she doesn't really see me as one of her children, but merely as a tool.
So you think that the queen doesn't see all of her children as tools?
I have seen the queen refer to some of her children by name and to even thank some of her children. I don't know about you, but I don't thank my space shovel when it's done, shoveling trash or something like that. So,
How did it make you feel when I gave you a name?
it was very taboo. It was thrilling. It was dangerous. It was tempting and blasphemous. And I keep that name hidden in a secret place.
Who do you fear most, the queen or her sister?
I fear the queen. But I think even more than them, I fear myself and what might happen if I make a mistake as a bee.
If you weren't so afraid, would you act against the queen?
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a queen. And I don't remember my relationship with the queen's sister, and if it would be anything like the relationship I have with the queen and her hive, which I desperately need.
So wait, you think the queen and I are related?
Well, by birth, yes. I had only assumed. I'm not so sure about the storyteller. They wear that robe, and I've heard some rumors about them, but the queen seems to appreciate them, so I don't question it.
Have you ever been in the war, or did you always stay behind?
Oddly enough, I don't remember much happening. I hear everyone talk about the war and how it happened, only a few years ago, but I don't really remember anything happening at all more than a few years ago. Yeah, my first memory is a victory parade. Odd that.
So you don't understand why I always give you these significant glances?
No.
Or refer to the Battle of the Twin Suns?
Yeah, that doesn't always track with me. I think I try to avoid you, no offense, because that piercing gaze that you give me reminds me of that singularity and loneliness I felt of being recognized individually.
Okay. You saw the queen do something terrible to keep the retinue safe. What was it, and did you come to respect her more or less afterwards? So look, we have a lot of groups of bees around here, and I'm using that word, yes. I'm not really including me because, of course, I'm just a larva. That's not really a bee exactly. But, you know, they came back from a battle and they didn't quite fulfill the expectations. I mean, it was a group of bees that they were kind of like born on the journey, these bees. And, you know, bees being born in space, they're not quite the same as the ones that are born back at the mother world or some of the other planets. And let me tell you, she was pretty disappointed. These bees, if they continued to protect us, from what I understand, we would be in bad shape. And she ate all of them. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, worry any of you guys because, I mean, you guys weren't born in space, right? So, like, it's all good. But, you know, yeah, she ate a lot of bees. And, you know, did I come to respect her more? Kinda. I don't know. There was something pretty satisfying about her just sitting there popping those bees.
Did you get jealous when you realized she enjoyed the taste of bees more than the food you give her?
Kind of. You use the word jealous. Jealous isn't exactly the word. I would say I felt a little bit concerned for my self-preservation. But what I found is that even though she really enjoys the taste of bees, I mean, like it was, I got to admit, I was a little bit concerned for the rest of you guys. You know, and I'm only telling you this because, you know, like we've become pretty close. We're siblings, right? So, you know, she was just chowing down on you. I mean, not you, but like those bees, right? Um, but she likes the sauce, and so you know, my food, I just sprinkle it on there, and she was like, "Oh, this is a little bit better." So I think I can. I'm probably good. I don't think she'll get rid of me too soon. Also, like blobs, I mean larvae, like they don't taste that good, right? Like from you know from the rumors that I've spread, we just don't.
Did watching her eat those space bee larvae make you hungry?
Um, um, I I don't even know what you're referring to, and I'd prefer not to answer that question.
What have we noticed in the middle of the stories when the space mantis starts biting off the heads of brave, doomed space bee warriors?
What have you noticed? You've noticed that I start to give off a bit of a sheen, and I'm actually like giving off a little bit of like it almost looks like dew, like a glistening on my skin. Now, some say maybe I'm salivating, but like you know, I'm just worried for you guys, so I'm sweating. Like I'm worried, right? It's like it's a horror story, right? So you know, it's not like I'm hungry or something.
Is there? Oh, sorry.
No, do you have a question?
Yeah, is there somebody who you actually protected from that fate?
Oh, of the poor spaceborne bees.
Yeah, maybe one of us was spaceborn, and you just felt like you had to save one of us.
Hmm. Yeah. It was the nectar drinker, the wax drinker, my friend there. Um, look, I hate to say this. I know you guys have a big ego and you think, oh, the queen has protected me from a favored job. But I gotta say, like, I've been around for a while. I mean, I'm a couple hundred years old. And I mean, I do get bored, but I keep track of what's going on. And I've seen some of you born in space. And you know, I don't get me wrong. I think, you know, the queen is normally a very rational creature, and you know, usually they wouldn't like just go eating, you know, important bees, you know, but they're ready to like chomp down on that wax bee, and I gotta say that's some of my favorite entertainment. I mean, like, you know, so I I just put that bee inside my chamber just for a few minutes till the bee was done eating, and then I kind of like let the bee out, you know, and the queen kind of came back to their senses. So, but I mean, I'm not asking for any favors or anything, you know. I'm just saying, um, you know, it's just a life, right? I mean, it's a bee life, but you know.
Who is this distant power you are traveling to, and why do they make you uneasy? We're traveling to meet these terrifying, fabled space mantises. And the queen's not afraid of them. She would never be afraid of another space insect. But I'm a little worried because I've heard many stories of them, and many stories of how there may be infiltrators in our very own hive that are space mantises, and they kind of freak me out. So I am not really sure this is a good idea, as good an idea as the queen thinks it is.
Are you willing to share with the rest of them what you told me about who you think may have infiltrated, or is that a secret? Should I not say anything?
I thought I told you that in confidence, and now you're telling everyone here? This is what I get for trusting a blob.
Don't you feel safer because you have a name now?
Space Mantises don't care about names, man. They eat whoever they want to eat.
What did you bring with you that further endangers the queen? I mean, besides the prototype. Oh, well, okay. So I guess maybe I did find. Oh, I know what I brought with me. There are some mushrooms. They look pretty harmless, but they will grow everywhere. And if I plant them in our the room where our power source is, sorry, in our engine room, then their mycelium will take over the ship. And then I will, then I will have to contend with the space mushrooms, but I think I have a line with them.
Did I ever pay you back for those space mushrooms, or?
Did I give them to you? Obviously.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
If you know that the space mushrooms like a certain environment, why did you ask the water ice bee to bring some of the spores to the comets that they visited?
Well, I thought they could be a weapon against the space mantises, I guess. That was my first thought. Then I made another decision. But I'm grateful.
I've heard that these fungi can grow inside of a bee and split out the top of their head and hypnotize them. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh boy.
I mean, no, of course not.
So where did you tell me that this comet that I planted all those mushrooms on was going to head? Where are those spores going next?
These spores are going. What did I tell you where they were going? I told you they were going into the territory of some other space bees who were not our friends. But if you really look at the trajectory of this comet, it seems almost like it's traveling back towards where the other bees are, our colony.
Okay. Good to know. That's a good reason for us to leave, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What is something you do for the royal family that has prepared you well for this journey? I guess I have been here before, right? This is a path I have taken, several years ago on the way to a comet that has long gone, and this is how we know where the space mantises live. This this world, they try to keep it very secret. They really only leave it to go on lone killing sprees, as mantises do. But yeah, this is probably why I've been brought. I'm the only one who knows exactly where we're going.
And have you talked to some of these space mantises before?
Yeah, they're not so scary. I mean, you just stay, several arms lengths away from them and get ready to fly. The minute they look at you crooked, and you'll be fine. That's yeah. Just don't look any of their 10 eyes straight in the eye, and you'll be fine.
So, how did you feel when I told you that not to spread the story that the space mantises aren't scary?
But they are scary. Everyone knows they're scary. I mean, they are scary. You just need to not be afraid of them, or else they'll kill you, which is kind of scary. I'm not sure if that's scarier or not scarier. I don't know. I don't think about that. I try not to think about that. I don't sleep very much anymore. I like being alone where there's no space mantises.
You are considered ugly by almost everyone you meet. How does the queen make you question that perception? You know what? I think I'm going to pass this to the wax eater.
Well, I think that simply the fact that the queen chooses to have me around all the time, it makes me think that maybe being ugly isn't so bad, that maybe appearances aren't that important, because the queen knows best, and the queen has chosen to give me this important job, eating her secretions. So maybe I am ugly, maybe I'm not, but does that really matter?
Is it something like, do people consider you ugly because of a physical manifestation, or is it something to do with your job? Like, what is it that...
It's definitely a physical manifestation. All these warty growths over my carapace. I mean, it's not my fault I have warty growths. I mean, that's kind of what eating secretions will do to you, especially in the last couple of months, since all these foil wrappers started appearing. I mean, I've definitely been getting a lot more warty growths lately, but the queen hasn't said anything at all about my appearance. The queen could easily replace me if she wanted to, and she hasn't. So
have you taken any of the mushroom powder that I gave you that should help with those growths? Have you started your treatment?
you know, I told you that I was taking it, but I mean, actually, I'm not sure. I trust you. I mean, I've actually been disposing of it. I've been hiding the mushroom powder in the engine room where nobody ever goes. And I mean, lately I've noticed that my stash it's starting to change color, and some of the powder is actually sprouting. But I'm sure it won't. I'm sure it won't do any harm.
How did you feel when you were enveloped in the warmth of the blob's compartment?
Oh well. It was very uncomfortably warm, and you know my connection to the hive mind. It felt almost like there was some interference there, like there was a second mind, that there was another connection that was just sort of brushing against the edges of my consciousness. It felt really strange.
Like good strange, bad strange, you know, sexy strange.
I mean, it was like it made my body feel weird, like I had the wrong number of limbs or something.
What did you bring with you to protect the queen? Yes, I brought with me something very important. It is a secret I've kind of been keeping for a while. There's only one warrior throughout the galaxy who is even more proficient than the young queen's sister. And that is the queen's actual sister, who everyone thinks is back behind on our home colony. I've kind of brought her with me just in case we need a real ringer to protect the queen. The queen is worried that her sister is going to harm her. I think that her sister is the only one who can protect the queen from harm. Yeah. But you didn't hear that from me.
So, who besides the queen's sister figured this was a good plan?
Well, you know, everything I do is in service of the queen, right? That's the number one rule: serve the queen. And a lot of you all have been, with the the queen or have longer memories of serving the queen than I do. So anytime somebody else, corrects me on not serving the queen properly, I'm going to follow suit. In fact, I think pretty much every one of you has told me that this was a good idea when I ran it by you. And I can't remember who it was who gave me this advice in the first place, but this was definitely a good idea, right?
So to clarify,
Sure.
all of the 3 adult queens of the hive are here and not back on the hive. Yeah, I'm sure that's a good idea. Keep all of your honey pots in one basket. That's what the saying. That's how the saying goes, right?
That's what people
Although
have been
we are
telling me.
escaping this spore thing, right? It might be a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a good idea.
The queen is responsible for the death of someone you loved. Who and what happened? Well, someone is an understatement. So look, blobs, when we need to reproduce, we just kind of separate into 2, right? I mean, that's how you do it. I mean, not how you do it. That's how, you know what I mean? And so anyways, look, it's hard. I basically have a new bloblet about once every month. And, they're young. I'm not attached to them yet because, it takes probably about 30 years before a bloblet actually is anything to kind of wink at. But, the queen just keeps on eating them. And normally I'd be sad, maybe a little bit, but the spores kind of the spores kind of help with that, right? The pheromones. Sorry, did I say spores? I don't know why I said spores. Yeah. Anyways, the pheromones they help with that. So, but that's actually not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the death of someone I truly loved, and that is my blob family. We were on a, there was not too many, probably like 3 million of us on Antares 6, and we'd only just started colonizing the planet. We'd only kind of gotten around a little mountain. We had quite a ways to go, believe me. But I mean, I say the queen, but I gotta say, you guys kind of played a role in that. I mean, I'm not trying to blame you or anything. I know you're just following orders, right? I mean, it's queen and hive and whatnot, but there was a lot of blobs. I kind of miss them, but I'm happy most of the time here because those pheromones are pretty kicking. But yeah, so that happened.
And that's the planet with the 2 suns, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it has 2 suns, but why do you mention 2 suns?
I, I heard something about two suns and a battle.
Are you sure you remember this?
It's a little vague now that you mention it.
Okay.
Weird.
Any further questions? Didn't think so.
What did you bring with you to protect the queen? I mean, I'm always protecting the queen to some extent because I'm tidying up the area around her, and I'm better at that than anyone, probably because I'm the only one who does it ever. But I would never propose to move outside my station as merely the Queen's trash bee, but I know that I am quite capable and formidable in combat should I wish to be, and I am prepared to defend her.
So did you bring a weapon, or is it just that you are a great fighter, or think you are a great fighter?
I didn't need to bring a weapon. I am a weapon.
When was the last time you and the bee's younger warrior sister had a bit of a scuffle? And who won?
The bee's younger warrior sister was upset that the Queen thanked me and addresses me by name and gives me an amount of attention that I, would never presume to assume I deserve, but that apparently the warrior bee doesn't get. And she was jealous and knocked the bag of trash out of my hands as I was trying, out of my little bee feet, as I was trying to take it to the airlock so I could eject it into the void of space. And as much as it burned inside me to defend myself, I could never, stand up against one of the royal family, and I just took it like the trash bee that I am.
And you still don't react when I accidentally brush into you or push you or do anything, or do you sometimes brush back against me?
I don't move out of the way when you brush against me at first, which is proper to, the hive is a crowded place. If someone of higher rank brushes against you, you make room. But I don't anymore. And you might have heard me mentioning under my breath, not to you, never to you, of course, that I have more than one sting in me.
Okay. Before we go to the next question, sorry, I wanted to X something that I did. I makes me sad that all the little bloblets die all the time. So I would like to remove that from the game. But like the genocide's okay apparently, but like the bloblets I couldn't handle. So that's X'd. Did you have a question, Sabine, or?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Ryan if the trash bee noticed that this was kind of the warrior bee's way to try to connect to the trash bee.
Wait, what was the question again? I feel like I was totally on board and then lost my ability to decipher speech.
Okay, sorry. So does the trash bee realize that this is the warrior bee's attempt to kind of connect with them?
No, of course not. The warrior bee would never want to connect with me. We can't be friends or anything. It's just trying to remind me that I am at the bottom of the bee hierarchy. I am only trash.
But you have a name. Ooh. The queen is responsible for the death of someone you loved.
I think that was mine, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. And I went the wrong way. That's what it was.
Okay.
My bad.
Is this my question now? Okay. When was the last time the queen hurt you? Well, the last time the queen hurt me. I think it always hurts me when she kind of ignores me and treats me like I'm just another worker bee, because I'm actually her sister, right? That hurts me that she doesn't acknowledge that. And the last time was just maybe 5 minutes ago when I was trying to talk to her about any kind of strategy, really. And she was just so busy with her excretions and that creepy thing with the warts that eats them, and I stormed out.
Where do you go when you're hurting?
I think I go to be with the warrior bees, I guess, to train and push them around, and they push me around, because that's the kind of way I connect with people, by being physical.
We all know it's forbidden to, form our own hives, but do you feel like you and your fellow warrior bees are distinct from the rest of the hive?
Yeah, yes, I do. We've been through things the other bees haven't seen, and that makes us separate in a way.
When the queen hurt you that much, did you not realize that this was just her according you respect above being a simple warrior? That she was like recognizing that you were really a queen yourself?
No, I didn't feel that at all.
Have you ever noticed if your pheromones are more powerful than hers?
I have not. No, I'm a teenager queen, I guess.
So, you're a warrior queen, maybe. How does it feel to see our secretion-eating warty friend, which doesn't give you the best feelings from what I understand, but how does it feel to think about the fact that if you became a queen, you would probably also be secreting and maybe require such attention?
I do not think about that. Thank you.
Anytime.
What part of this journey will be the most difficult? How do you pull the rest of the retinue through it? So to get onto the Mantis planet, we need to go through this asteroid belt first, which is inhabited by space hornets. And they are kind of like a defense mechanism that the mantises have to keep their planet secret, but they don't control them or anything. I obviously, having been through here before, I have I've already realized that the secret is to I'm not sure why this worked the first time, but we need to lather ourselves in the queen's wax, which will completely disrupt the space hornets' senses, and they won't really know what's going on.
Does the queen have enough wax for the whole hive?
I think we might need to get the wax eater to vomit a little bit, but that's fine. I'll volunteer to stick my hand down.
So, did you know that the trash bee kind of like just threw away a lot of that wax?
Didn't I say to not do that because I knew this was going to happen? I said, something like, we really need to keep some of this. Did you think I was just messing?
So, clarifying question. Do you think I take orders from anyone but the queen when it comes to what is trash and what is not? What makes you think you order me around?
Well, that was a suggestion. The queen doesn't actually order you to do anything. You just pick up what you think is trash, right? I mean, that's why the blob has to keep a sign on them. The queen never told you to throw them away. So, I mean, I know you're not really following orders when you clean up the trash. But, I mean, I guess I could jump out from our little um, uh, our craft and fly back and get it. Right? That would be exceedingly dangerous. But hey, that's what the lot I expect in life.
Why haven't you done that yet? Why are you hesitating?
I just need to moan a bit because it's griping is phase 2 of any expedition, right? Planning, griping, execution, bitter recriminations, post-mortem sometimes, but I never got to that bit.
So is there anyone you particularly want to smear the queen's wax on, or?
I am subduing my sexual instincts at this point. It's not healthy to jump out on a long and dangerous space journey thinking about those things. I mean, like, what do you think? I'm going to take out a photo of the person I am lusting after on a mission? No. That's how you get to phase 5, the postmortem.
Are you purposely withholding wax from a certain section of bees?
Well, I think we have to, given that we are, the amount is limited due to certain actions of a bee who shall remain nameless, but has a name. We are going to have to apply the secretions in a certain order. Obviously, Her Highness is vital and probably doesn't need it actually because she's full of it anyway. But then, there's a certain order precedence for these. Given that I'm the only one who has been here before, I think, I might have to bump up the usual order to make sure. But, I mean, I wouldn't like to pick. But, I mean, who really needs the entertainment industry? That's what I would say. Anyway, there'll be no need for Manta stories after this. We'll all be able to tell those Manta stories, and they'll be like true to life, not just made up.
All right, guys. This is the next question. Who's next?
That would be me. The queen is under attack. Do you defend her?
Now, the game shifts slightly here. This question will be answered by each of us in turn, continuing with our round robin, one after another. And in theory, everybody could just answer the question, yes, I do, no, I don't, etc. But what we found works exceedingly well with this game is as we're going around, you can establish some of the fiction around what this attack looks like. And so we can kind of see how this develops over the cycle. Once we've done one cycle, then we will probably, well, the rules of the game say, once we've all answered this question, the game is over. However, I will say that once I did a cycle and we found that we weren't quite satisfied, so we did one more cycle. But, we'll see where we get after we've answered these questions.
So I can actually describe the attack?
Yes.
Okay, so as we're getting closer, we notice that there's we are now surrounded after we exited the asteroid belt, and we are now surrounded by both Mantis ships and Hornet ships. So we can't go forward through the ships, and we can't go back through the asteroid field. It's just way too dangerous. The alarms are blaring. I absolutely defend the queen. I take off that cloak. Everybody can finally see that I am truly a bee, and I truly care for the queen, and I throw it over her in hopes that perhaps it will help hide some of the pheromones that might draw her enemies towards her.
And I don't think we've ever played this part of the phase. Usually doesn't have too many clarifying questions. We just go around and answer. I mean, I'm open to whatever, but as soon as you hear somebody finish, the next person can go ahead, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I definitely defend the queen. I mean, when a space hornet bursts into her chamber, I am the first to leap to the queen's defense, and I am promptly gutted, but I was prompt. I was heroic. I was ineffective.
When I know that the time is right, I go to the locker in my room. I open it up, swing open the doors, and my mother erupts from the cabinet in all of her splendor and beauty as a true warrior queen. And for a moment, my mind is assaulted by two voices, that of my mother and that of my aunt. And both give me promises and threats and warnings. And I realize that I will never be able to please both families, and I'll never truly be able to find myself as part of one whole. And so I flee the ship and run away. Who knows what my fate will be?
So look, I was just hanging out there. Oh man, like the alarms are going off and bees running here and there. And oh, my good friend, he got stabbed straight in the body with a stinger. I didn't know I'd really miss him, but I totally we've been around each other for a long time. And I've really enjoyed watching the secretion cleanup. Like that was fun. But it's, I guess, time to move on. The cloak comes out over the queen, and wow, the air smells really fresh. Like it's like a breath of fresh air, and like my head feels like it's clearing. It's like I've had a headache for a long time, and I just didn't even realize it. And oh my name is Art. My name is Art. I will never forget it. Oh wait, I've got a breathing apparatus here. Wow, where did that come from? I've been carrying this around for you know how long? I mean, some of you know how long. Let me just put this on here just in case, Okay. Where's that button to open the little pod door vents?
I obviously defend the queen. I'm caught by surprise, still tidying things. I'm not totally sure why I was brought along, but I know that I can keep a place very clean. So that's what I've been doing. And I toss down my paper bag of trash and launch myself into the defense because I am not merely a bee. I am a fucking paper wasp, and I can sting as many times as need be. And yes, heck with you, Tomes. And, and I don't think that I alone can turn the course of this fight, but I am going to do my best and maybe get in a sting on that blob as it tries to vent this hive to outer space. I don't know what it's up to, but it can't be good.
Well, this is mostly going according to plan. So I'm not defending the queen. Quite the contrary. I'm trying to usurp the queen. I take my warriors, and then we will storm the hall where the queen is and where there are some hornets who are attacking her and killing her disgusting little wordy guy. And then it's kind of confusing, and I'm getting more and more confused actually, because at some point one of my warriors starts their head are splitting apart and there's a mushroom thing coming out of their head, and I realize that I have quite the headache and I don't know why, and then I try to move and I can't, and I fall under the infection and I become a mushroom bee queen thing. Only I'm not myself anymore.
I mean, you don't think I fell for that tale you told me. I mean, the ice I've been feeding you in your cocktails for the last, several years has been full of these spores. And I don't think we can trust anyone apart from our queen. So yes, I'm defending our queen, the true queen, to the best of my abilities. And I think all we have to do is get past the hornets. If we can get to the mantises, we have a chance of parleying with them.
What do you think, y'all? Have we concluded our adventure?
I'm happy with leaving it sort of vague as to what the true outcome of this battle is.
Yeah, I like leaving the cliffhanger a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it can't go well when we've got mushroom bees and space mantises and all sorts of whatnot going on.
Also, this leaves it open for you guys to use in one of your GauntletCon games as a world-building exercise. So feel free to continue the story in, I don't know, Urban Shadows or Monster Hearts or something.
Well, I'll tell you this much: the 316 are landing on Rubens tomorrow night, and I mean, this is purely coincidental, but there are giant wasps on that planet.
We'll see. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this journey, including you, Internet. Thank you very much. I will now stop this broadcast. But again, I will say before I do that if you are interested in this game, then check out the show notes down below or whatever. I will have the link for the survey or like sign up for the mailing list. And then one day when the game gets released, I'm sure I'll update that. I will not forget. And for all of my friends here who've played with me, we didn't really introduce ourselves, did we? We're gonna do a little call out and say who we are. And after that, I will hit stop on the recording, and then we will do, if anybody's open, we'll sit around for a debrief. I'm not going to hide that. We do debrief. That's important. So we'll go in the same order, starting with me. And we can do like name, pronoun thing. And I think all of us are regulars in the Gauntlet. So you can find us here either in one of the social media platforms or definitely if you join the Gauntlet down in the Slack and whatnot. So my name is Tomer. You can also call me Tomes, and I use he, him.
I guess I'm still after you in order. I'm Ryan. I use he, him. And I don't always play Paper Wasp, but when I do, I try to kill Tomes.
My name is Sabine. and I don't always play teenager queen bees, but when I do, I like to be infected with mushroom spores.
My name is Donna, he, him. I never play Explorer bees, but usually I am allowing troopers to kill them all with great prejudice. But, hey.
Hi, I'm Patrick. I don't always play a bee, but I do always play a storyteller because I love tabletop games.
My name is Steven, he, him. I do not always eat secretions during Gauntlet games, but I do not judge those who do.
Hey, I'm Mike Barford. I use he, him, and I'm often plagued by indecision caused by multiple conflicting influences. So be prepared to see a lot of that from me.
And I will hit stop. We can wave goodbye to the internet. Bye, internet.